Hello everyone, welcome to the webinar on Zoho Sheet. I'm Jaya Shankari and I'll be the presenter for this webinar. So in this webinar, we'll be seeing an overview of Zoho Sheet where I'll be giving you all an introduction to Zoho Sheet, what is unique about Zoho Sheet and where you can find it. Also, I'll be giving you all a demo of Zoho Sheet and I'll be talking about features that will help you to create beautiful spreadsheets, collaborate in real time with your team, automate your repetitive tasks using macros, and analyze your data efficiently. So, Zoho Sheet is an online spreadsheet application that provides all basic and advanced features for free, unlike other products that either do not provide advanced features on their online spreadsheet application or they either charge you for using them. Zoho Sheet is available on the web and it is also available for mobile devices in the App Store and Play Store. In the Play Store, it is currently in the beta version. Zoho Sheet also includes some advanced features such as VBA macros, pivots, conditional formatting, etc. And finally, collaboration, that is something very important for a team to work, is also delivered through Zoho Sheet. You can not only work in real time with your team, but also discuss inside the spreadsheet. So where can you find Zoho Sheet? Zoho Sheet is currently a part of several bundles of Zoho products. So I'll list them out for you. First up is Zoho One. Zoho One is a single bundle with more than 30 products of Zoho in a low price. And you can find Zoho Sheet as a part of it. Next is Workplace. So Workplace includes 9 productivity and collaboration tools such as Zoho Mail, Click, etc. and Zoho Sheet is a part of it. Next is Zoho Docs. So Zoho Docs is an online file storage and management application. It also includes an online office suite that has Writer, Sheet and Show as a part of it. You can find Zoho Sheet for your mobile devices in the Play Store and App Store. So now, for today's demo, we'll be having an example of a small company that sells computer accessories. So the name of the company is Zilker Private Limited and it has 3 branches, namely branch A, branch B and branch C. So in this webinar, we'll be trying to create a sales report for this company for the year 2017. So let's get started. So when you sign in through Zoho Docs, this is the screen you'll be seeing. So you can either create a new spreadsheet using the create option here on the left top, or you can open your already existing files. So I've already created a spreadsheet for this demo that will be Sales Report 2017 and I'm going to open that. So here is the sample I had created for this webinar. So we have month, product, units sold for each branch, that is branch A, branch B and branch C, cost per unit, total units sold and total sales cost. So now in the product list, you can see that the content is not fully visible. So for that, I'll be adjusting the column width. And as I click the column header, you can see that the width measurement is made visible. So I'm going to just drag it and make it 125 px. So that is the width I want. I'm going to release it. Next up, if I do not want to change the column width, but I want the content to be visible, I'll just select the cells and click on wrap text. So now, without changing the column width, you can see that my content is visible. So January is something that is common for this whole set of data. Now, how do we make it visually understandable? I'll just select the cell range and I'm going to merge it. So now you can see that visually you can understand that January is something that is common for this whole range of data. Now, cost per unit. These values indicate the cost per unit. So usually, how do we represent a cost? We use a currency symbol. So here, I'm going to insert a currency. For that, I'll go to Format, and then you can see the dollar symbol there. So for my data, I'm going to use dollar, so I'm just going to click on it. So if you are looking for any other currency, you can just click on the drop down where you'll have a list of other currencies. If you do not find your desired currency here, you can go to More Formats and then choose your desired currency. So now I've got dollars here. So you can see that I had already entered my data for branch A, but branch B and branch C data will be entered by my colleagues. By colleagues, I mean the salespeople from branch B and branch C. Here, I am representing the salesperson of branch A. So for these two columns, I will be sharing my spreadsheet with my colleagues. So before that, I'll just make my sheet ready with formulas and other formats I can finish. So for total units sold is nothing but the sum of the units sold in all the three branches. So now I'll just use the formula sum. You can see that as I type in the formula, I get a list of suggested formulas based on what I type. So here I click on sum, and you can see the syntax of the formula displayed below the cell. In that syntax, you have a link which on clicking opens a dialog that has an explanation of the formula. So I'll close that, and now I'll just select the range for adding. There we go, and enter. So for simple mathematical operations such as sum, I can also use the mathematical operators such as here I'm using the plus sign, and you can see the different colors here indicating the ranges used in the function. So I'm not going to enter the formula for the whole column manually. I'm just going to fill this column here with this formula. So for that, I'll just place my cursor here at the right bottom of the selection where you can see a small square, and the cursor turns into a thin plus sign. So just double click and you get the formula filled here. In case you're not sure about whether the formula has been correctly filled, you can just double click on the cell and you can see the corresponding ranges that were used for this function or formula. So next, the total sales cost. So the total sales cost is nothing but the product of cost per unit and total units sold. So I'm going to use the function product here, and then I'll select the range and enter. So as I had already mentioned, I'm going to use operator here. For multiplication, I'll use asterisk, and then I'm going to fill the formula. So total sales cost, as we know, is also a price, or it indicates money or cost. So I'm going to give a format to it. So I'm going to give dollar sign, and since it has decimal digits, it makes it difficult for me to interpret the data. So for that, I'm going to round it up. I'm going to decrease the decimal points, and there we go. So now that I've filled in the formulas, I'm going to share my sheet with my colleagues. So for that, I'll go to share, and when I open share, I get a dialog here. So in this dialog, you can see the option called visibility. So in that drop down, you have various options through which you can select to whom or how you want to share your spreadsheet. So the first one is for collaborators only, when you want to share your sheet with individual people or persons using their email IDs. Next is that you can share your spreadsheet with your whole organization. So anybody with the link in your organization can access your file. You can also share your spreadsheet publicly with a password protection, or you can share your spreadsheet publicly so that anybody with the link can access your file. So right now, I'm going to share the spreadsheet with only 2 people. So I'll go with the first option. So here, I'm going to enter their email addresses. There we go. Yes. At the right, you can see that there are permissions given for the collaborators. So read only indicates that the collaborators can only view your file. Read and comment, as it indicates the collaborators can view and comment on your file, but they cannot make changes. Read and write indicates that the collaborators can view and edit your spreadsheet. And co-owner permission indicates that your collaborators can view, edit, comment, and share your spreadsheet. So I'm going to give them the co-owner permission. Here you can see that the collaborators will be notified through email by default. You can uncheck it if you want. I'm going to check it here. And you can even add a message to them so that they'll know why you have shared the spreadsheet with them. So I'm just going to share it. You can change their permissions anytime you want. So now that I have shared the file with 2 of my colleagues, so there we have a colored indication that implies that there are collaborators inside your spreadsheet. So when I hover over that indication, I can see the name of the person who's currently using it. So there we have Ming, and there's Carla. So I'm going to add comments in these cells so they'll know exactly what they're supposed to do inside the spreadsheet. So for that, I'll just right click, and then I'll click on add comment. So here, I'm going to tell them what they're supposed to do. I'll just mention their name here, so they'll get notified about this comment even if they miss it inside the spreadsheet. So branch B, I've mentioned Carla, and similarly for branch C, I'll mention Ming. So now you can see that I have a notification here indicating that somebody has either replied or responded to my comment. So here we have Carla. So she has responded saying sure. And next, you can see that Ming has liked my comment. So that way I get to know that both of my colleagues have seen my comment and they know exactly what they're supposed to do inside the spreadsheet. So now I'll just close it. So in these 2 columns, you can see that they have already started entering the data for branch B and branch C. And in these 2 columns, you can see the formulas getting updated in real time. So you can see the edit done by your collaborators in real time. At the same time, I'm seeing the formulas getting updated too. So now If at all I've missed to see or note what my collaborators have done, or if I want to know what my collaborators have been doing inside my spreadsheet, I can go to Review and Audit Trail. So here you'll be given a list of every tiny change that has been made to your spreadsheet by you or your collaborators. So you can either see it based on the specific users here, or based on the time and date of the change, or based on specific worksheet in your document, or even based on specific ranges. So here I'm going to select a range, and there we go. So here you can see there's a link given. So when I select that link, on the right you can see the version history. So this opens a list of versions for your spreadsheet file. So you can just click on it and you can see the changes that were made in that particular version and who made those changes. At the same time, in the Sheet tab here, you can see the red color indicating the number of changes that were done in that particular version. So you can either name a version so that you can find it at any time for you, or you can revert back to a particular version, you can delete it or even export it. So right now I'm not going to revert back to a version, so I'm just going back to the editor. So since January is almost done, I'm going to enter the data for Feb. So first, I'll show you all how to manually enter the data for Feb, and then I'll show you how to automate the task using macro. So for manual, I'll just select and fill this range. Since the cost per unit can change over a period of time, I've already given a list of values. But for this demo, I'm going to keep those values constant. So I'm just going to copy paste the cost per unit. And then I'm going to fill in the formulas. So finally, I'll give borders. So that'll be the vertical border and the top one. So there we go. So it took me 1, 2, 3, and 4 borders. So it took me 4 steps to fill in the data for Feb. So right now, let's see how we can automate this task using macros. So for that, go to macros, record macro. So in this dialog, you can either write or record a macro. Since we are going to do an action that is already present inside the sheet, we can go with record macro. So I'll give a name for my macro. When you're giving a name for your macro, be sure not to give or not to leave any spaces, because the VBA editor does not support the space character. And don't forget to click on Use Relative Reference here if you want the macro to run in the cell where you place the selection. So here I'm going to give Start Recording. So I'm going to repeat the actions I did. So the macro records it. So copy and paste, and then fill the formulas, and finally the borders. So top and vertical. So there we go. So now I'll stop the recording. So if you want to view your macro code, you can just click on View Macro and it'll open the VBA editor. So you can edit your code if you want to. So I'm not going to edit my macro code here. So I'm just going to close the dialog. So if you want to run your macro, you can simply go to the macro menu tab and click on run macro. But I don't want to go to the macro menu tab every single time I want to run the macro. So I'm going to insert a button, so that will be useful and easy for me to run it every time I want to. So there we have the button. I'll give a name for it saying fill, and I'm going to place it here. So when you click on the advanced options here, you can see an option called assign existing macro. On selecting that, it'll show you a list of macros that are present in your current spreadsheet. So I'll select report 1, that is the macro I had created just now, and I'll click on assign. So now when you want to run your macro, just click on that button and you can see that it has automatically given me the result for April. So similarly, I can go on for the other months too. There we have May, and so on. So manually entering took me 4 steps to complete this process, where macros did that in one single click. So now that I've entered my data till the month of May, while scrolling through these ranges of data, I'm not able to clearly indicate what these values represent because I cannot see my title row here. So for that, I'm just going to place my selection below the ranges I want to freeze, and then I'll go to View and click on Freeze Panes. So now when I scroll through the ranges, my title row or my title ranges remain there, so it is easy for me to interpret what these values indicate. So before going for the analysis part, we'll see how we can arrange the data properly and understandably. So for that, I'll select the range I want to arrange, go to Home, and I'm going to sort the data. So for that, now I'm going to sort the data based on the product name. So I'll just click on Sort Ascending, and you can see the list here changing its position from A to Z. So that indicates the ascending order. So now if I want to sort my data or arrange my data based on the total sales cost here, I'll go to Sort, click on Custom Sort, select the column which you want to sort, that is column I here, and then descending because I want the values to be arranged from higher to lower, and then I'll click on OK. So now you can see the values here change based on the order from highest to the lowest value. So if I want to see the values or the sales cost for my product, for say specific products, namely printer and headphone, for the several months, I can add a filter. So once I click on the filter icon, you can see a small arrow or a drop down icon being added on top of each cell here. So when I click on that, I'll have a drop down giving me a list of all the products in the column. So now I want the data for headphone and printer. So I'll select the 2 products I want and click filter. So now you can see the data for printer and headphone being listed for all the months of data you had entered. So this makes it easy for me to interpret and analyze my data for each product. You can also filter data for each month or each value according to your interest. So to go back to all the values entered, I'll just click on clear and I'll get all my data here. So next up, we'll see how we can analyze or show your data visually. So charts are the best way to visually show your data or analyze your data more understandably and quickly. So for that, I'll go to another sheet, that is report 2. So in this sheet, I had already entered all the data needed, and on the right you can see a small table with all the months listed along with the total sales cost for each month. So for inserting a chart, I'll just select the range and I'll go to insert and click on chart. So in this chart dialog, you can see that Zoho Sheet recommends a few chart types for your data. So these charts are the ones that will best suit your data. So you can select one from these, or you can pick your desired chart type from the option here. So here for my data, Zoho Sheet recommends pie, bar and column charts. So I'll select column here. So if you want any other chart type, you can select from the various types we provide here. Now I've selected column, so I'll proceed with that. I'm going to add a chart subtitle for my chart here, so it becomes more understandable. So on the right, you can see the preview of the chart getting updated as I type in the chart subtitle. I'm going to remove the legend. Next, I'll go to axis and I'll provide title for each of my axes. So for my x-axis, I'm going to say months or month, and for my y-axis, I'll say cost and represent it with $sign. So on the right, you can see everything changes as I type in. And I'll click OK. So you can place your chart wherever you want inside your spreadsheet and resize it so it becomes more viewable and understandable. So now you can either edit your chart from here directly using the edit mode, or you can use the context menu that shows up on top when you click the chart. So we have a color scheme here where we have provided 4 different color schemes that our designers have handpicked for you. So you can either use these colors or you can give your own color from here. So I'm going to click on one of the color schemes provided, and there you go. You can see the chart turns beautifully with the given colors. So that's all for today's webinar. If you have any questions regarding the webinar or our product, do email us at support@zohosheet.com. Thank you all for being a part of this webinar. Thank you.